Picture this. You're standing on the northern frontier of the Roman Empire in 122 AD. To your left, the rugged hills of northern Britain stretch far and wide, and in front of you, towering stone walls rise against the wind-swept landscape. This is Hadrian's Wall, one of the most iconic remnants of the Roman Empire, and one of its greatest military engineering feats. But what did life actually look like here, in this remote outpost of the Roman world? This isn't just a story of a wall. It's a story of the strength and strategy that defined the Roman Empire. Hadrian's Wall was not just a barrier to keep enemies out. It was a living, breathing frontier, filled with soldiers, civilians, trade, and complex infrastructure, all designed to maintain Roman dominance in Britain. In this video, we'll take you inside this remarkable fortress, brought to life through advanced AI reconstruction, to explore not just the wall itself, but the people, culture, and military might that made it one of the greatest fortifications of the ancient world. Stick with us as we uncover the untold stories of those who lived, worked, and fought along Hadrian's Wall, and discover how this incredible structure shaped Roman Britain in ways you've never imagined before. The vision behind Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall wasn't just a defense system. It was the result of years of strategic planning, a vision put into motion by the Roman Emperor Hadrian himself. When Hadrian came to power in 117 AD, he recognized that the Roman Empire had grown vast and that the security of its northern frontier, particularly in Britain, was becoming increasingly difficult to manage. The answer was clear. Build a wall to defend the empire's edge and symbolize Roman control over the land. The emperor envisioned the wall as a defensive barrier, but he also saw it as something more, a means to control the movements of people and goods, to regulate the frontier, and to demonstrate Roman might. By 122 AD, Hadrian had ordered the construction of the wall, stretching 73 miles across the landscape of northern Britain, from the River Tyne on the east coast to the Solway Firth on the west. The wall itself was an extraordinary feat of engineering. Made from a mix of stone and turf, it varied in height from 15 to 20 feet and could be as wide as 10 feet at certain points. Along its length, soldiers and civilians worked together to build forts, milecastles, and watchtowers that would serve as military bases, keeping the peace and ensuring that no one could cross into Roman territory without proper control. Hadrian's Wall became the visible boundary of Roman Britain, a true representation of the empire's power. But how was it built, and who were the people responsible for it? And what did daily life look like on the frontier? In this AI reconstruction, we'll take a close look at the men and women who constructed this massive wall, from the skilled Roman engineers to the laborers who worked tirelessly to raise these stone walls. The construction of Hadrian's Wall was no small feat. It took thousands of soldiers, laborers, and craftsmen to complete, and the work took several years. While the Roman military was known for its organizational efficiency, building this vast structure in the challenging northern terrain presented unique obstacles. The construction teams faced dense forests, rough hills, and unpredictable weather, all while dealing with the threat of hostile tribes to the north. Roman soldiers were not just fighters, they were also engineers. They were tasked with constructing the wall and its associated infrastructure, which included watchtowers, milecastles, and forts. In this part of our AI reconstruction, we can get a glimpse of these soldiers at work, using rudimentary tools but employing highly effective methods. We see soldiers digging trenches, hauling stone, and setting up the foundations of the wall. The scale of the operation becomes clear as soldiers work together in organized teams, passing materials and reinforcing each other's efforts. The stone used in the wall was carefully sourced from local quarries, but in some areas, the Romans utilized earth and turf to create a stronger base. The engineering design of Hadrian's Wall was impressive, using a combination of natural resources and advanced Roman technology to create a structure that would endure for centuries. The construction wasn't limited to just building the wall itself. The Romans also created a road system along the wall, enabling faster movement of troops and supplies. These roads connected the various forts and military posts along the wall, ensuring that the Roman army could respond quickly to any threat. Scene 3. The strategic significance of the wall. Hadrian's Wall wasn't just about defense, it was about control. The Roman Empire's success was built on the ability to maintain control over vast territories, and Hadrian's Wall played a critical role in that strategy. The wall served as a physical boundary between Roman Britain and the so-called barbarians to the north, tribes such as the Picts and the Celts who resisted Roman rule. The wall was not a static barrier. It was a living, active frontier. The Romans stationed soldiers in forts along the wall to maintain order and security, but the wall itself was also a tool for monitoring and controlling the flow of people. Movement was restricted. Travelers had to pass through designated gates where Roman soldiers would inspect them. The empire controlled who could enter and leave, ensuring that trade, intelligence, and military strategy were tightly regulated. In addition to military control, Hadrian's Wall became a cultural boundary as well. It marked the distinction between Roman civilization and the tribal societies of northern Britain. Over time, the Roman presence influenced the local tribes, bringing new technologies, customs, and systems of governance. In this section of our AI reconstruction, you'll see Roman soldiers standing watch, inspecting travelers, and managing the flow of goods and people. We'll also explore the role of the military in shaping the local culture, with Roman customs influencing architecture, fashion, and even religion. The Roman army was crucial in maintaining the empire's presence on the frontier. The forts and milecastles along the wall were strategically placed to ensure the rapid movement of troops, allowing the Romans to respond quickly to any threat. These outposts became essential hubs for daily life, housing soldiers and their families, and serving as centers of trade, social interaction, and governance. Hadrian's Wall wasn't just a military structure, it was a community. Beyond the soldiers who guarded the frontier, the wall was home to civilians, traders, farmers, and families who supported the Roman military effort. The settlements that grew up around the forts were vibrant hubs of activity, as people from all over the Roman Empire came together to live, work, and trade. The soldiers who were stationed along the wall had a structured life, focused on maintaining order and defending the empire. They lived in barracks within the forts, where they slept, ate, and trained. But when they weren't on duty, soldiers would engage in other tasks, such as farming, crafts, or assisting with construction. Life for the soldiers was hard, but it was also structured and disciplined. Meanwhile, civilians who lived near the forts often worked in agriculture, growing crops to feed the soldiers and their families. These civilians, many of whom were native Britons, adopted Roman customs and lived side by side with the soldiers. The interaction between the soldiers and the local population was crucial to the success of the Roman military system. Over time, a unique Roman-British frontier culture emerged, where Roman influence and local traditions blended together. In the AI reconstruction, we'll see bustling market scenes where soldiers and civilians interact. Picture families living in simple homes, trading goods, and participating in the vibrant social life that defined the frontier. You'll see shops and workshops set up along the wall, where craftsmen produce Roman-style pottery, tools, and other goods. This section of the reconstruction highlights the human aspect of Hadrian's Wall, showing us the people who lived along its length, contributing to both the Roman Empire's success and its legacy in Britain. The cultural exchange at the wall. One of the most interesting aspects of life along Hadrian's Wall was the cultural exchange that occurred between the Romans and the local tribes. While the wall was built to keep barbarians out, it also served as a point of contact between the Roman Empire and the Celtic tribes of northern Britain. The wall facilitated trade, communication, and even cultural interaction. Roman goods, such as pottery, wine, and clothing, were exchanged for the furs, metals, and livestock of the local tribes. Over time, the Roman military presence along the wall began to influence the local tribes, with many adopting Roman customs, from architecture to religion to military tactics. In this AI reconstruction, we can see how the people living along the wall integrated Roman culture into their daily lives. We'll see how local tribes adopted Roman construction techniques, built Roman-style houses, and began using Roman tools. In some cases, local leaders even embraced Roman citizenship and became part of the empire's social structure. This cultural exchange was one of the lasting legacies of Hadrian's Wall. It wasn't just a boundary, it was a place where two worlds met. And in many ways, it paved the way for the Romanization of Britain. Scene 6. The Roman military presence and defense strategy. The Roman military's strategy for Hadrian's Wall was far more sophisticated than simply constructing a physical barrier. The wall was part of a larger defense network designed to monitor and protect Roman Britain from the northern tribes, particularly the Picts, who were seen as a constant threat to Roman rule in the region. The Roman military utilized their extensive experience in fortification to create a strategic network of defense points, including forts, milecastles, and watchtowers, all of which were positioned at regular intervals along the wall. Each fort housed a contingent of soldiers, while milecastles served as checkpoints to control movement. The Romans were masters at maintaining order and controlling access, and Hadrian's Wall was designed not only as a physical wall, but as a living, breathing system of military control. Roman forts were well-organized military bases. They were equipped with barracks, training grounds, stables for horses, and warehouses to store food and supplies. The soldiers stationed at these forts were responsible for patrolling the wall, ensuring that any potential threat from across the frontier was quickly dealt with. In this part of the reconstruction, we'll step inside one of these forts. Picture yourself walking through the gates and seeing soldiers lining up, preparing for drills and maintaining their weapons. You can hear the bustle of activity as guards change shifts and goods are exchanged between soldiers and civilians. The wall's true strength lay in its design. While it was an imposing physical structure, its real power came from the meticulous organization of the forces guarding it. Watchtowers were positioned at strategic locations, giving soldiers an unobstructed view of the landscape. If an enemy approached, a signal would be sent, allowing the Roman legions to mobilize quickly. Scene 7. Military tactics and fortifications. The Roman Empire was built on military strength, and Hadrian's Wall was no exception. The wall was designed not only to act as a boundary, but also as a defensive fortress, capable of withstanding attacks. In this section of the video, we'll look at the military tactics employed by the Romans and how they used Hadrian's Wall to maintain control over the frontier. The Romans were masters of siege warfare, and their fortifications were built to resist attacks from both sieging forces and surprise raids. The wall's design, with its fortresses, watchtowers, and milecastles, provided soldiers with numerous vantage points from which to spot approaching enemies. The Romans also built a deep ditch, the vallum, behind the wall, which acted as an additional obstacle to any attackers. Within the forts, Roman soldiers were trained to handle a wide range of military scenarios. These soldiers were not just defenders. They were engineers, carpenters, and blacksmiths, responsible for maintaining the wall, its watchtowers, and the infrastructure surrounding it. The forts themselves were highly organized, with dedicated areas for soldiers to practice combat, repair equipment, and receive food and supplies. The Romans also made use of the natural landscape. The rugged terrain of northern Britain, with its hills and valleys, provided the perfect setting for a defensive wall. The Romans used the natural topography to their advantage, building sections of the wall on elevated ground, allowing soldiers to have a clear view of the surrounding areas. In our AI reconstruction, you can see Roman soldiers training for battle, practicing their sword techniques and tactics. The forts are filled with the sound of drill and preparation, with soldiers preparing for whatever might come from across the frontier. Scene 8. The role of the auxiliary forces. While the Roman legions made up the core of the military force stationed at Hadrian's Wall, they were not the only ones involved in defending the frontier. The Roman Empire relied heavily on auxiliary forces, non-Roman soldiers who were recruited from various parts of the empire. These auxiliary troops played a critical role in the defense of Hadrian's Wall and the Roman frontier. The auxiliary soldiers came from all corners of the empire, from Gaul, Germany, Iberia, and even North Africa. Some were volunteers seeking to earn a salary or land, while others were conscripted. These auxiliary forces were typically used to supplement the regular Roman legions, often handling tasks such as light infantry, archery, cavalry, and even specialized units like engineers or medical staff. The auxiliary troops stationed along Hadrian's Wall were often responsible for the day-to-day patrolling of the frontier. While the Roman legions would be called in for larger battles or sieges, the auxiliary forces maintained a constant presence, ensuring the security of the region. The diversity of these soldiers meant that there was an influx of different cultures, languages, and skills, all of which contributed to the complexity of life on the wall. In the reconstruction, we see these auxiliary forces working alongside the Roman legions, learning military tactics, and becoming part of the broader Roman frontier experience. They lived in the forts, contributed to the maintenance of the wall, and played a key role in the interaction between Roman soldiers and local tribes. Their role in securing the wall was as essential as that of the Roman legions themselves, and their presence helped to stabilize the region. Scene 9. Life in the forts. The daily routine. Life inside the forts of Hadrian's Wall was structured, disciplined, and highly organized. Soldiers woke early to begin their daily routine, with a clear hierarchy that governed every aspect of their lives. In this section, we'll explore the daily life of a Roman soldier stationed along Hadrian's Wall and how they spent their time. The day would begin with a morning assembly, where soldiers would line up for inspection and receive their assignments for the day. Some soldiers would head out to patrol the wall, keeping an eye on the surrounding landscape for any signs of enemy movement. Others would be tasked with maintaining the fort, repairing the walls, or working in the workshops to produce tools, weapons, and supplies. In between their military duties, soldiers would train. The Roman military was highly regimented, and soldiers practiced their combat techniques regularly to keep in fighting shape. The soldiers would train with their swords, shields, and other equipment, preparing for any potential conflict. Life in the forts wasn't just about work. There was time for relaxation and socializing as well. Soldiers would gather in the communal areas of the fort to share meals, play games, and engage in conversations. They were also encouraged to pursue personal hobbies and skills, whether it was crafting, reading, or learning new languages. Many soldiers were multilingual, speaking Latin, Greek, and other languages depending on their origins. At night, the forts were quiet, with soldiers resting in their barracks, preparing for the next day's duties. The forts were secure, well lit, and meticulously organized, designed to provide both safety and a sense of order for the soldiers who lived there. These forts were not just military outposts. They were the heart of Roman life along Hadrian's Wall. Scene 10. The role of traders and civilians along the wall. While the Roman military made up the core of Hadrian's Wall, it was also a thriving hub of civilian life. In addition to the soldiers, there were traders, laborers, and families who lived along the wall, supporting the Roman military effort and contributing to the economy of the region. Traders played a key role in ensuring the smooth operation of the frontier. The area around Hadrian's Wall became a commercial center, where goods could be exchanged between the Roman soldiers, local Britons, and traders from all over the empire. The Romans brought their goods to sell: pottery, wine, olive oil, and textiles, while the local Britons offered products like furs, timber, and livestock. These exchanges were vital for maintaining the Roman presence on the frontier. The trade routes along the wall allowed for goods to be transported to and from the forts, providing the soldiers with the supplies they needed to survive. The settlements near the forts also served as a place for soldiers to relax and engage in social activities, from shopping to eating, drinking, and even interacting with civilians. In the reconstruction, we can see the bustling life of these settlements. Markets filled with merchants selling their wares, civilians interacting with soldiers, and traders unloading their goods at the forts. The social and economic activity around Hadrian's Wall helped sustain the Roman military presence in Britain, creating a dynamic and vibrant frontier society. Scene 11. The Pictish threat and the strategic role of Hadrian's Wall. Though Hadrian's Wall was a marvel of Roman engineering and military organization, it wasn't just a passive structure. It was a dynamic part of Roman Britain's defensive strategy. Positioned at the edge of Roman territory, the wall was designed to protect the empire from the so-called barbarians beyond the frontier, specifically the Picts, tribal people from the northern regions of what is now Scotland. The Picts, who had resisted Roman control for years, were viewed by the Romans as a serious threat. The wall was meant to keep them out and prevent any incursions into Roman-controlled Britain. The Pictish tribes had a long history of fighting off Roman advances, and their fierce independence posed a constant challenge to Roman authority in the north. In this section of our AI reconstruction, we'll step into the world of the Pictish threat and the Roman response to it. The Romans understood that their empire's success depended on maintaining control of their borders, and Hadrian's Wall was a key element in that strategy. Roman military intelligence gathered information from scouts, traders, and even captured prisoners to assess the level of threat posed by the northern tribes. While Hadrian's Wall acted as a physical barrier, it also served as a surveillance tool. Roman soldiers were stationed along the wall, keeping a close watch on the northern horizon, ready to defend the empire if the Picts attempted to breach the frontier. The wall's strategic position allowed the Romans to respond quickly to any potential threat. The well-established forts and milecastles were not just defensive points, they were command centers, where Roman soldiers could gather intelligence and prepare for battle. The wall was both a physical and psychological barrier, symbolizing the might of the Roman Empire and intimidating the tribes beyond. Scene 12. The decline of the Roman Empire and the fall of Hadrian's Wall. Though Hadrian's Wall stood for nearly 400 years as a symbol of Roman strength, its days were numbered. As the Roman Empire began to decline in the 4th and 5th centuries AD, the Roman legions in Britain were slowly withdrawn to defend other parts of the empire, particularly from the increasing pressure of barbarian invasions on the continent. By the early 5th century, Roman Britain had become increasingly unstable. The strength of the empire, which had once allowed the Romans to maintain control over distant provinces like Britain, was weakening. In 410 AD, the Roman Emperor Honorius formally withdrew Roman troops from Britain, leaving the province to fend for itself against the invading Anglo-Saxons, Picts, and other tribes. The gradual abandonment of Hadrian's Wall marked the beginning of the end for Roman Britain. The forts, milecastles, and military posts along the wall fell into disrepair as the Roman military presence was reduced. The infrastructure that had supported the Roman Empire's frontier was no longer maintained, and the once mighty wall began to deteriorate. In this section of the reconstruction, we'll show the gradual collapse of Hadrian's Wall. The fortifications that once stood proudly against the northern frontier now lie in ruins. The weather, along with centuries of neglect, has taken its toll on the stone walls, which are now mere remnants of their former glory. Yet, despite its decay, the legacy of Hadrian's Wall remains. Though it no longer serves its original purpose as a military defense, Hadrian's Wall continues to stand as a powerful symbol of Roman engineering and imperial control. The wall's legacy, both physical and cultural, has lasted far longer than the Roman Empire itself. Scene 13. Hadrian's Wall in modern times, a lasting legacy. Today, Hadrian's Wall is one of the most iconic landmarks in Britain, attracting tourists, historians, and archaeologists from around the world. Despite its age, the remnants of the wall still stand, giving us a glimpse into the grandeur of Roman Britain and its far-reaching influence. In modern times, Hadrian's Wall has become a UNESCO World Heritage Site, drawing attention to its historical and cultural significance. Though much of the original structure has crumbled, sections of the wall, particularly in the central regions of England, have been preserved and carefully maintained. In this part of the video, we'll explore how Hadrian's Wall continues to be an integral part of British heritage. We'll visit some of the most well-preserved sections of the wall, where you can still see the original stonework and the remnants of Roman forts and milecastles. These sites allow us to connect with the past and imagine what life would have been like on the frontier of the Roman Empire. Hadrian's Wall also plays a role in our understanding of the Roman Empire's impact on Britain. The wall is not just a physical barrier, but a symbol of the Roman military, their organizational prowess, and their ability to create lasting infrastructure in even the most challenging of landscapes. The legacy of Hadrian's Wall is visible in the towns and cities that grew up along its length, and it remains a testament to the engineering and military achievements of the Romans. As we walk along Hadrian's Wall today, we're reminded that the past is never truly gone. It continues to influence the present. The history that shaped Roman Britain has left its mark on modern Britain, and Hadrian's Wall stands as a physical reminder of that enduring legacy. Scene 14. The role of Hadrian's Wall in shaping Roman Britain. Hadrian's Wall was more than just a boundary. It was a defining feature of Roman Britain. The wall acted as a symbolic marker of Roman control, and it was designed to send a message to both the Roman citizens living in Britain and the native tribes who lived beyond the frontier. The Roman Empire was asserting its dominance, and Hadrian's Wall was a visual representation of the power that stretched across Britain. Beyond its military function, the wall had profound implications for life in Roman Britain. The presence of Roman soldiers along the wall, as well as the establishment of forts and milecastles, created a network of communities and infrastructure that linked the Roman world with the local tribes. The wall wasn't just a line of defense. It was a conduit for the flow of trade, culture, and ideas. Roman Britain, under the shadow of Hadrian's Wall, became an important part of the Roman Empire, and the wall played a significant role in maintaining Roman presence in the region. While the wall served as a defensive structure, it also facilitated communication, commerce, and governance. The Romans built roads, towns, and settlements near the wall, and these areas became vibrant centers of Roman culture and influence. As we see in the AI reconstruction, Hadrian's Wall was more than just stone and mortar. It was an integral part of Roman Britain's infrastructure and cultural landscape. The wall defined the boundary of the empire, but it also helped to shape the future of Britain, influencing everything from local customs to the development of towns and cities. Scene 15. Hadrian's Wall and its role in the Romanization of Britain. One of the most significant impacts of Hadrian's Wall on Roman Britain was its role in the Romanization of the native tribes. As the wall acted as both a physical and cultural boundary, it facilitated the spread of Roman ideas, customs, and technologies across the island. This process of Romanization transformed local societies, with many native Britons adopting Roman customs, architecture, and even Roman citizenship. The military presence along the wall played a key role in this transformation. Roman soldiers stationed at the forts and milecastles were not just warriors, they were also responsible for creating the infrastructure that would bring Roman culture to the region. Roman roads, baths, villas, and temples were constructed near the wall, making Roman life more accessible to the local population. In this section of the video, we'll explore the effects of Romanization on the local Britons. We'll see how Roman soldiers interacted with the native tribes, trading goods, sharing technology, and introducing Roman practices. Over time, many of the local tribes began to adopt Roman ways of life, and their culture became more integrated with that of the Romans. Roman influence spread across Britain, but Hadrian's Wall was a focal point in that process. The presence of Roman soldiers, combined with the infrastructure built along the wall, played a significant role in shaping the future of Britain. Hadrian's Wall was a defining feature of Roman Britain. It was a physical and cultural barrier that marked the northernmost edge of the Roman Empire. But more than that, it was a testament to the engineering, military might, and cultural influence of Rome. Though the wall may have fallen into ruin over the centuries, its legacy remains an integral part of British history. Today, Hadrian's Wall continues to stand as a reminder of the power and influence of the Roman Empire. Its preservation and ongoing study offer valuable insights into the lives of the people who lived along the frontier, and its story is still relevant today as we reflect on the enduring legacy of Rome in Britain. Hadrian's Wall was more than just a defensive structure. It was a symbol of Roman strength, organization, and culture. And as we continue to study and appreciate the remains of this ancient monument, we gain a deeper understanding of the history that shaped the world we live in today.